Generally link the two together, but does the Rastafari movement and the way of life get the respect of Jamaicans in place where it both music and religion originated? Here to reason with us is Dr. Marcus Goff, attorney at law, and he's telling me former artist. I don't have no video proof of the video evidence of it. Morning, my brother.
I have to take your word for it.
Yeah. What's your favorite Bob Marley song?
I think I would have to say Stir It Up. Stir It Up on the musical side. And on the political side, Babylon System, where you just start with right ago.
On the political side?
Yes. The messaging side, yes, Babylon System.
What came first, law or Rastafari?
Rastafari came first, in terms of my studies, but I mean, I was always motivated to do law. So in my teenage years now, they merge. And so the social justice law is really grounded in my Rastafari journey.
Why Rastafari?
Well, when you look around the Jamaican society as a young man, and you see what kind of influences, the kind of role models, the persons who are talking, what I want to hear in terms of reparations and justice for the black majority, it was only the Rastaman I heard, the message that I wanted to hear and that my soul felt comfortable to support.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's interesting that because at a time, as you say, when people were in search of who am I, where should we head as a country, Rastafari rose up as that experience that many connected to. But do you believe that in contemporary Jamaica, in the now, the beliefs, the principles, the tenets are as impactful as they were then?
It's a good question, and oftentimes we look at how Rastafari is coming from a space of increased marginalization, historically and so forth, Now we see a lot of the younger generation has embraced Rastafari, and so I think that we've been able to accomplish a lot in terms of breaking down the walls of Babylon, but at the same time there's a lot more to do societally because, of course, in terms of a post-colonial nation, there's so much we have as a legacy, that we need to really overcome in terms of the colonization of our minds.
I want to follow up that when you said you're embracing Rastafari, so let's clear that up. Yeah. When we say Rastafari, what we mean?
Well, at the core, we're talking about belief in the divinity of His Imperial Majesty, Emperor Haile Selassie the First. That is the root, and from that stems a whole body of principles identifying with Africa, and denouncing and overthrowing, the colonial mindset that we've all been placed in for centuries. And so trying to really liberate the black man and woman and family through the mind.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I have a double-barrel question. Are you concerned at all, does it bother you at all that you have a lot of dreadlocks who is not necessarily Rastafari? Some of them say Rasta, but, are you concerned there? And what is Rastafari? A religion, a way of life? What is it? I heard a Rasta man say it is a livity, and I'm not certain men and people understand what a livity means. So, first one, are you concerned about the whole heap of dreadlocks as opposed to Rastafari?
I think it's a double-edged sword for the community, because we want to know that Rastafari principles and influence are growing, but at the same time, we don't want to have an increased confusion as to who is the Rasta man. You know what I mean? But I think generally speaking, if we can move away from European hairstyles and chemicals into Afrocentricity over here, that's definitely a positive thing.
Yeah.
Second part of my question. A religion or a way of life?
So Rastafari, we see ourselves as a livity, not a religion, because Rastafari is really a religious, social, cultural, political, economic force. And so no one word captures all of that, but the Rastafari word livity,
Yeah. Rastafari is so tied to reggae.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't think, and we've seen a lot of reggae artists who are non-Jamaican, and once they go reggae, it seems almost automatic that it's because, they are in the Rastafari livity. I know there's a group that say you don't have to dread to be Rasta. How do you see that symbiosis though between Rastafari and reggae, and how that has evolved over the years?
Well, when you really look at reggae historically and globally, is Rastafari at the root that has able to sustain it so long.
Yeah.
Bob is still #1 on the album charts.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Reggae music and the colors and the culture of reggae is really, to a large extent, the colors and the culture of Rastafari. You know, so Rastafari without the reggae, I think, is not as wholesome, is not as beneficial. You know, and people don't seem to connect to it so much. So I think we need to keep the two together and ensure that the message, you know, stays in the music.
In religion, you know, you have Seventh-day Adventists, Catholic, Anglican, Protestant. I would like to think they all believe in the Heavenly Father, as they put it. Rastafari, I think you call it mansions. I think there are about eight or 10 of them, I think. Bobo, Shanti,
Yes.
Naya, 12 Tribe of Israel.
Right.
I know there are differences, but everybody believe at the end of the day in the same thing?
At the core, yes, we certainly believe in the struggle. We believe in the divinity of His Majesty. You know, we believe in Africa being central, you know, to who we are. And so, yes, you might have certain doctrinal differences, but don't let that divide us. And so right now we have a RMO, Rastafari mansions and organizations who are bringing together the family in different ways to work together despite whatever differences they may
And if that is so, then why do you have the differences? So the Nabinga, the drummers, the Bobo Shanti there, you can say a Bobo Jed, you know, is a
That's
Bobo
right.
Jed, you know? And the 12 Tribe of Israel, I think the Prophet God was a ballad.
That's right.
So why the differences if what you're saying that at the core, everyone believes the same?
Because it's a liberation theology and ideology, you know, so many people are thinking outside of the box. And so we have great thinkers, and people will therefore vary in their individual spiritual journeys. But at the core, you know, Rastafari is all about liberation and grounded in Africa, in Ethiopia, and empowerment of the black man and woman.
Haile Selassie is God?
In terms of Rastafari, yes, he's the supreme role model for black people, because we know that historically black people were put under and subjected to ideologically to others. And so His Imperial Majesty the First represents that divinity for us and that role model for us forever.
Yeah. This morning, our first guest, you know, and I like to tell people, I say, you know, reggae and Rasta is healing. It's also rebellion.
Yes.
It's a liberation.
Yes.
So we have, as much as we celebrate Bob, we recognize Tosh
Most certainly.
and the things that he's done. And when we see things like marijuana, yes.
Now we're talking.
No, it's yeah, and where it has progressed in terms of legalities and all them things. I would say led by the Rastafari liberation.
On our backs, because for decades Rastaman been targeted by the police, targeted by the state, targeted by society, largely because of the criminalization of Rastafari and ganja. So this year, in April, we're celebrating 10 years since the decriminalization of ganja. And Rastafari, of course, has led the charge, but still we find not fully having our rights to ganja recognized in the law. So it's an ongoing journey, but certainly we're glad for where we're coming from and where we are now.
Is that, well, I was going to say, is that bittersweet? Because to see where it is progressing, even outside of Jamaica, I know people have turned it into an industry, the ways in terms of medicinally how it works, which Rastafari knew from day one.
That's right.
But as you say, Rastafari themselves not being the ones to benefit as much as everybody else.
And that's unfortunate, you know, because again, the plantation economy models, right, that we're supposed to be eschewing, we're incorporating, you know, in the 21st century. And so the Rastafari, the grassroots, traditional farmers have not been properly placed. And so the advocacy continues, you know, but certainly we are very pleased to see how the world has embraced the plant again, how the plant can be restored to its dignity as it ought to be. But of course, we need to have Rastafari ones leading the charge in terms of how to properly frame our relationship to this healing holy plant.
Repatriation is also
A must.
Yeah.
A must. Mentally, physically, spiritually, economically, in terms of land, all of those ways, definitely Rastafari as repatriation is a must.
Yeah.
Good to see you.
Yes, thanks for being here.
Yeah, man. God bless. Attorney at law, Dr. Marcus Goff. And I need to apologize for walking across the camera just now. I had to go pick up something. What's next?
Up next, Trenchtown Polytechnic College impacting lives.
Soon come.